Hello everyone, this is a final video on deploying a model, and this video will be complete from the very beginning towards the very end. So by the end of the video, you're going to be able to calculate a model by putting the word probability default here, by putting values into a form and entering those values like that, and submitting it. This is going to be a new company that you are entering the data, and it's going to calculate the probability of default, or by selecting one from a database like Telefonica in here, and then you get the value in JSON or in HTML like this, with the model or without the model. So here's the probability of default. Very good. To start, you need to create an account. If you don't have a PythonAnywhere account, go to pricing here, click on create a beginner account, create your account. You're going to get an email, confirm your email, otherwise you can't deploy. You can enter the account, but you can't actually deploy the website. To get the actual files for this video, you can enter github.com/ManuelGadi repositories, and then you search. The order here varies, so you go and search for company searcher start. I'm going to be deploying everything. You can do it directly with the final version, and so you don't have to enter every single step that I'm going to do. You can do it with the final all the way. But I'm going to do with the start one. So the first thing first, you go here and visit the start and download as a zip file. Don't unzip the file. We're going to upload the file as it is to PythonAnywhere. So go to your account in PythonAnywhere, click on Files. If you don't see the option Files here, you can click on the snake here with the PythonAnywhere. So you click on Files there. You should have this empty anyways, but you click on Upload a file here, please. Search for the file you've downloaded. Company searcher starter main. Upload it. It should take a little bit of a time, but then you're gonna have it in here, company searcher starter main. And where you are, you open the bash console. I'm gonna copy this name here, Control C, I selected and copied, and I'm gonna open the bash, the console. It's gonna take a few seconds. And now I can see with ls, I can see the files, and I can see the company searcher starter main here, and I can just say unzip company searcher starter main, and this is what's gonna happen. And I'm gonna have a directory called company searcher starter main. And what am I gonna do? I am either, if you downloaded the end version or the main version, I'm gonna say let's rename this file, this folder, to company searcher no more, just like that. Company searcher start and main, or company searcher and main to company searcher. And here we go. Now we have a directory that is just company searcher. Once we've done that, we can do exit. We can exit here. That was just for standardizing what we have, like whether we came from one file or another. Everything else, we're gonna work the same way now that we standardize the name. So what we do next, we go to files here, and we're going to see that we have a directory called company searcher with big letters company and big C and big S. Right, what do we do next? We create the web. If we enter here, you will see that you have a flask app.py. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to web. You shouldn't have anything here. If you already have something, you go here and delete the web that you have, like I'm doing with the red button at the bottom. And once we all at the same page here, we don't have anything, we do add a new web app. We say next, we say Flask, we pick the highest Python version that you have, and then here is where the secret begins. You're gonna put the name company searcher. Sorry, this is my user, that should be your user, and this is gonna be company searcher. And here I'm gonna say Flask app underscore running to avoid overriding the one that already exists there. So we go and say next, we're gonna have a web up and running. Once we have the web, we can right click and say open in a new tab, and we're gonna have a hello from Flask. So what else do? We go to files now. We go to company searcher that we have here with the big letters. I'm gonna open, right click on Flask app running. That Flask app running here is the one created automatically from Flask, and the app Flask underscore app.py is the one that we actually have our code. So my initial code is running in this one, and I'm gonna put it in here. So I'm gonna paste in the Flask app running. So please save this, and then you can reload the app. And now the app would actually generate a problem. So it's reloading and would say that something went wrong. What's the problem? The problem is we're reading a database here. So let's go there and solve that problem. The problem is that by whatever reason, the source code and the working directory are not matching. So you need to copy the source code and put it to match with the working directory. Therefore, the database is in the same place, and everything else should work. If you now wait a little bit, if you wait until the web reloads, you can come here and refresh it, and you should have this. This is still not working perfectly. This is just loading the HTML. So let's start actually doing the modification so that we get a model. So to actually have a model there, I have to generate the model. And you shouldn't generate the model in Windows because we deploy the model in Linux. So let's develop the model in Linux. So I would ask you to right-click in Company Searcher and open a new tab. With that new tab, I would ask you to go and say App Simple Rating Model Development. Open that file. This file also reads the database, select all the data there, create few variables, few ratios, this target status, EBITDA income, debt to income, so on and so forth, create a random forest, and the most important thing, at the end, it actually deploys the model. It actually dumps the model. It saves the model to the directory where it runs. So what do you do here? You don't save and you don't reload. You just run this file. It's gonna load the console here. If you haven't closed the other console and you have more than one console open, it may block you from running this. So you have to go and click on consoles and close the consoles before running this. So it's going to take a while to generate the model. And once it's done, you close the console, please. Exit, open and close parentheses, because you are inside Python. And then we can now go back to the directory, and you will see that a file has appeared, and the file is called rating random forest classifier joblib. That is the model. This is the model that we created. And just to be sure that I will ask you that now that we have the model here, please, just to be sure that we don't make a confusion, delete this file, flask underscore app. Please delete that one. We're gonna just keep the Flask app running, because that's the one that is actually running. And what we're going to do next is right here, after the index and before this app run thing, we're going to load the model. So first we import job_lib, and then we say model equals to load rating random forest, the file that we created before. And to actually apply that model, we're going to create another route. So app.route with the at the beginning /prop default. And this, we're going to create a function with the same name. This is going to be hard-coded. What I mean is that we're going to create a dictionary with certain hard-coded values, and we're going to apply that model. And the dictionary will be this case. We're creating the EBITDA with some value, debit to EBITDA 20, and so on and so forth. We're going to make this a dictionary, a pandas dictionary, because that's what we need to apply our model. So we're going to create it to PD data frame, and then we're going to select the columns that we actually require. Professor, we only have those, but just to make sure that the order is the same, I'm fixing it with the df and then selecting EBITDA income, that to EBITDA, and so on and so forth. And then what else do? We calculate, we apply the model.predict proba, and we get all the rows and the second column, because predict_proba give us two columns, the probability of 0 and the probability of 1. And finally, I'm just going to return the probability of default with that value. So I'm going to save it. Make sure you change everything in the app running, because the other one is not running. It is only the app running that is actually running. So reload the page, and then you can copy this /probability of default here, because if you go back to the web, your web should be working. Remember, with your user.pythonanywhere.com, but now if you put /probability of default, you get the probability of default of 0, 1. So we just apply the model that we created. This, obviously, that's not the best way, because it's fixed values, it's hard-coded, it's not useful for anybody. But now we can finally, now that we know how to apply a model, we can apply the model that comes from this manual typing company here. And to do that, I'm going to ask you to come back to your web, open with the right click on company searcher, and then click on templates, and open the index.com. And if you go down here, you're going to see that there is a form with the /probability of default here, prob default, that is running that's running in here. And what can we do now? I'm going to do a copy of this, and I'm going to say, do you know the fixed one? I'm going to say fixed. And so if I save this, I can go back and say, remember the first one we done, probability of default? I'm going to say this is the fixed one, and it's going to calculate the fixed version. And here we go. But the one coming from the form will be this new one. And what do I have to change? Well, the only thing that I have to change is the values here. The values are not fixed anymore. They are now coming from request.args, so log operating income. And this is coming from here, log name, log operating income. And the next one is then that to EBITDA, and finally this next variable here. And if I save it and reload this page, now I'm getting all the values from the form, and I'm applying the probability of default. Let's test it. And I can now enter the value like 10, 10, 10, and 10 here, and I will get a probability of default of 0.4. Very good. I've just got the value from the input, from the, and the beautiful part of this is that I can now change the values for 23, 15, 4, and 0, and this will give me a different value, 0.1, and so on and so forth. So now it's not fixed anymore. I'm getting it from the form. Finally, we also have an option to, let's say we have a database with companies and I want to calculate something, but that something is coming from a SQL query. So as you can see, if you go back to the index.com, index.html, you will see that there is another form, and that other form is returning a get method to an action CS, custom company searcher, CS. So let's create that CS backend, app route CS. And we create a function with the same name, and this function is gonna be company searcher. And for that company, because we already have selected, and you can see here at the top that we're doing PD read SQL select everything from company balance sheet database, we already have the data inside the data frame called DF here. It's just that we're gonna get the NIF, the fiscal number of that company, and we're gonna select that company, that row. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna ask, oh, if the person clicked on the model, if the person select the model to be calculated, we're gonna calculate the model. So for that, we need to calculate all the ratios. So we're gonna calculate that to EBITDA. We're gonna calculate EBITDA income, that to EBITDA. We're gonna calculate the leverage. We're gonna calculate the log operating income. Then we're gonna make the same replacements that we have done when we developed the model. That, if you remember, the development of the model, it's inside the app simple rating here. So that data cleaning is exactly here at the bottom. Here it is, the same data cleaning that we have done. So we replace everything, then we select all the variables as we have done previously in the fixed versions. Then we calculate the probability as we did it. And then we have another option. Maybe the person requested us to output the output as a JSON format, so like an API. So we do, if it's a JSON format, return data.toJSON orientation records, and then else return everything as HTML. So the data will be in HTML format and so on and so forth. And this should be all. If we save this now, there was a mistake here with a space before and I've just removed everything from here and from here, and then I saved it and I'm reloading it. And once we complete this, we can then go back to our web and everything we're going to be working. So we can go back here and search for Santander Bank and say, I want a JSON and I want the model. And it gives me the model with all the variables and the probability of default. And if I say I want Santander but without the model, it's going to give me everything but not the ratios and the model. And if I say I want the model but in HTML format, it's going to give me the model and the probability of default, everything but as a HTML. And remember, I can then say probability of default fixed. It gives me the fixed version, or I can say 10.1111 here, and it's going to give me a probability of default for a new company that doesn't exist in the database. So everything set. I hope you enjoyed and were able to create everything. If you